What's up and welcome to my review of Jango Fett's Slave 1. Released back in 2002, this set was given set number 7153 and retailed for just $50 in the US. However, now if you want to buy one new sealed and boxed, it'll cost over $900. This set has 358 pieces as well as 2 minifigures, as well as having this really nice 2002 style box art. Flipping the box onto its side will show a couple of cutaways of the set as well as the minifigures that are included, being your Jango Fett as well as your Boba Fett. And then as we move to the back, you can see a bunch of different play features, as well as 2 alternate builds. There's even photos of the characters from the Attack of the Clones movie, being your Jango Fett as well as your Boba Fett. Moving down, we have different photos of the other sets that were out at the same time, and overall I have to say this box art is just phenomenal and shows off a ton of great details. And the OG 2002 box art is just so nice. But let's move on to our minifigures. Our 2 minifigures included in this set are Jango Fett as well as Boba Fett, and are one of the main reasons behind the high price of this set, both coming in at a pretty hefty price tag. Starting off with our Jango Fett, I have to say this OG style of the Mandalorians looks so good. The helmet piece that also doubles as the backpack is amazing. Now I will say the printing on the top of the helmet was actually something that was very hard for LEGO to get right and line up on this minifigure, so it's a common flaw that you see throughout all of them. He's equipped with this more realistic style gun than what we're used to seeing for LEGO Star Wars, but it definitely does fit the character very well. Moving along to the back, you can see that beautiful jetpack piece that is molded into the helmet, and I just love all of the detailing here. There is no printing, but I really don't think that it needs printing along the back. But moving back to the front, the printing on the torso, very minimal, but it definitely does get the job done. However, I think my favorite part of this minifigure has to be when you take off the helmet and you see the balaclava head underneath. There is so much detail on Jango's Fett, especially for a minifigure from 2002. You have this double beard to the comlink piece as well as just his overall face, and you even have a hairpiece to put on top after you take off the helmet. And I just think that it looks great, and it's a very smart way to have the 2 sides of the head, one to have flipped forward when you have the helmet on, and then another one so you can actually take the helmet off. And overall, I have to say this is an amazing minifigure. Our second minifigure in this set is our young Boba Fett, which is a pretty straightforward minifigure with not a lot of detailing, but I do think the printing on the torso as well as the face has been done very well, and I do especially love how accurate this hairpiece is. Moving to the back, there is no printing or detail at all, but once again, for 2002, it was very rare to see back printing on your minifigures, but back toward the front, I do think this is a great minifigure, and somehow it's even better than the one that we got in the UCS Slave 1, but we'll overlook that for now. But overall, I think this is a pretty solid young Boba Fett minifigure. Now, opening up this box kind of felt more like opening up a time capsule. Inside, you find your directions, a 2002 Lego.com pamphlet, as well as a LEGO catalog mail-in. And I thought it was super cool that all of this was included inside the set because you'd never see them nowadays. Opening up the small pamphlet, you see all of the other sets from around that time, and it definitely is super nostalgic with all these OG sets. And the directions are definitely a throwback. I have to say, I do love that blue kind of blueprint build in the back. That definitely adds a lot to these directions. And moving over to our Jango Fett, it looks like he was actually originally supposed to have a chrome helmet. And lastly, to the back of the instruction manual, you have a bunch more images of some other sets from around 2002. And I have to say, just seeing these, even though I wasn't alive at the time, is very nostalgic to see all of these different sets in the same spot. But my favorite has to be Yoda on the back. But now let's move into the build. Now I have to say I'm very surprised of how good this build actually looks given the fact that it is from 2002. I think LEGO definitely nailed the shape of this set as well as having all of the detailing, and there's not even too many exposed studs, which was definitely an issue for sets at the time. Another highlight is definitely the balance of color as well as all of these different printed details. No stickers at all were applied to this set, which is definitely a big plus, especially compared nowadays to LEGO Star Wars. Now there still are a couple of discrepancies. I do think that the full front of the nose detailing could have been done a little bit better, but given it is from 2002, like I said, I still think that the shaping as well as the color matching was done very well. And while this may not be the prettiest build, it definitely has some OG charm. I want to take a look at all of the different play features, starting off with our blasters mounted on either side of the nose. They have a 360-degree range of motion, and they're a lot of fun to move around and pivot. And they also do look very good on the side of this ship. But moving on to the actual nose of this ship, we have a couple of small compartments, the first of which you can put Jango's blasters inside and close up. Moving further up the nose, you have another compartment which when opened reveals a couple of missiles as well as a small Bacta-tank. You can remove the missiles very easily, and they are just a combination of these 2 simple pieces, and then they can slot right back in. And overall, I have to say, all of the compartments in this ship are definitely one of the main highlights for this build for me. And the design is mirrored on either side, side, so it is the same. You can open it up and get full access to either side. The next feature that I want to talk about are the wings that are actually gravity assisted. Now, this was the first time that we ever saw this featured in a LEGO set, and we've seen it in pretty much every other Slave one since. But it's very cool to see this first iteration, as it did pave the way for all of the other Slave ones, and I think it's a very fun play feature. Next, we have yet another compartment. This one might be my favorite though. You fold it down and then you can fold out a rack of missiles. And it's even mirrored on the other side, so you can also pull it out there as well. And I have to say, this is probably one of, if not my favorite play features when it comes to this set. And this place feature works surprisingly well, and it moves out pretty flawlessly. And there's a lot of posability when it comes to these missiles. You can pretty much put it wherever you want and it will stay in place, and it's very easy to fold back into place once you are done, and then it closes right back up. Now, moving back to the wing system, there's more going on here than you would originally think. Now, this actually works by having this big heavy block on the back, which is the reason that they're able to move on their own. And that balance is what allows these wings to move, but the wings aren't the only thing that's moving. The actual inside of the cockpit moves as well, and I think that's my favorite part about this whole set. Moving in under to the nose, you have the actual loading bay area, which has a couple of play features hidden. Now, first of all, there's actually no door here, so it's going to be open 24/7. Now, some people don't like that. Personally, I don't really mind. I don't think LEGO would have ever been able to incorporate a door here back in 2002, but you can fit your young Boba Fett minifigure in there, and it is quite spacious on the inside. But the main play feature comes from lifting up this panel to reveal a couple of bombs held underneath. And while they are actually a bit challenging to get out of there, they are a very fun inclusion, and they add a lot of playability to this set. The old translucent orange color is so nostalgic, and it does fold back up very nicely, and you can barely even tell that they're held in there. And now on to the most important play feature of all, being the cockpit. First of all, it's very easy to get into. You just simply remove the windscreen piece, and then you have access into your cockpit, where there's a ton of different detailing with all of the different control panels, and there is actually quite a lot of space in here where you can fit your JANGO Fett minifigure. There's more than enough space to fit him in there with his jetpack on, and you can even put your young Boba Fett minifigure to stand in behind him. And there really is a surprisingly spacious interior with all of the fun controls in there as well, and once you have both of your minifigures in there, you can take your windscreen piece and put it right back on top. It goes into place just as easily as you're able to take it off, and it's held on by a couple of studs on the top as well as the bottom, and I have to say, once you have your minifigures in there, it looks so cool. But the coolest part is yet to come. It's with the gravity assisted feature, where when you pick this up, your minifigures in the cockpit actually move around with the ship, and I have to say, this is hands down my favorite part about this whole set. It's such a fun play feature, and one that I doubt that we'll ever see ever again for LEGO Star Wars, but it adds so much to this build and makes it so much more fun to play around with, as well as swoosh around. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning is that you can actually stand this up on its own on its back, and while it does look very cool when it is displayed like this, I wouldn't recommend doing this for long periods of time because it stresses out the bricks as well as not being the most stable of stands. However, it's very nice to see that this is something that the ship can do on its own, because with the newer Slave ones, you actually needed to have a separate build to hold it upright, and it's very cool that this one can do it all on its own. And this definitely makes for a great display. But as we move along to the back of the build, this is where there is quite a lot of lack of detail, but it is understandable given the back of the build isn't something that you'd really see. You have the translucent clear orange pieces as some thrusters, as well as a couple other pieces to help support when it is on its back. And while it doesn't look too bad, it is overall a pretty nice build on the back. Now, overall, I think that this is a great set with a ton of very fun play features and two amazing minifigures in the Boba Fett as well as the JANGO Fett. However, this set being over a decade old is pretty hard to get your hands on, especially for a reasonable price. But when comparing this set to others of its time, it definitely is a cut above the rest and has a ton of fun play features that we were talking about earlier, while also managing to look very good on display, especially for a set from 2002 where display wasn't really the main focus of LEGO. And though I definitely cannot recommend that the average LEGO fan go out and spend $900 on an OG JANGO Fett's Slave 1, I think if you're an avid collector and this is a set that you want to add to your collection, you definitely can't go wrong. From a great OG design, all of the fun play features and amazing minifigures, and even the nostalgic box art, I really don't think that you can go wrong when it comes to this set. And there's definitely a reason that it's one of, if not the most sought after sets from 2002. But overall, I have to say that this is a great set. It still holds up today over 20 years later, which is crazy. It has great minifigures as well as amazing play features, and I think that this is one of the best sets from 2002. And if you ever get the opportunity to pick it up for a good price, I highly suggest you do, because it is one of my favorite sets in my collection as of right now. But let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about this set, and let me know if you've ever owned this set at some point in the past. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe. Drew, signing out.